All right, okay. Today I'm showing off my midterm. Um, as you can see, I only have these two. My Steam, which is running my OBS Studio, which is my visual recording. Um, and here is my midterm program. I'm going to run you through exactly what I wrote. Um, I included my IO mainstream, my F stream for opening files, and my string. And I included this other one, which help the program run more efficiently because when I tried running it, it would not run. And luckily, when I implemented this, it was able to run. So at the top, I have my function prototypes, which is going to be my month name, mortgage rent payment, home insurance, utility costs, total maintenance, total renovation costs, total meal costs, and its over budget list. And as you can see, I gave the variables the ints and doubles for how many I'm going to be using there. And I also included the OF stream output file because I am going to write some data in from those functions into the file, which we'll go over later. So we're going to continue on to my main little function that's going to hold everything. So first, we're going to have our OF open put file, and we're going to open up a file called over budget. And we'll see later that this over budget file is going to be able to hold and store any expenses that went over budget and put them in there, and then later spit it out and put them in a list so it could display to the user. So I put first month equals 0 and last month equals 0. And here is going to be all my variables, and they're all going to be double because we are going to be using money. And most of the time we use money, we're going to have cents. Um, so for the first little section here, I asked the user, in what range would you like to calculate? And the dates will go according to the number. So when is January to is February, and so on and so forth. So you input the first month, but if the first month is less than 1, then it will put input invalid input. And same with the last month, put in the last month, and if the last month is greater than 12, valid input. And then here's my for structure, which is going to repeat for those each month that we put in is going to iterate for each month. So I put int m equals first month. Sorry about that, and it assigns the int m variable to first month, and then month is less than or greater than last month, and we're going to step or initiate it plus plus, so it will know to go from 1, and it will know to go from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and keep on going until the last month, which is whatever the user input up here. I put these lines in these little asterisks just to make it look cleaner, because when I did try running it before, it looked very jumbled up and it didn't look how I wanted it to be. So it's going to ask the user to enter the budget for this month. You enter the budget, and then it's going to ask you to enter the payment for mortgage/rent for the month. And this is the variable in payment. And we're going to pass an with the function mortgage rent payment. It's going to ask for an argument from whatever variable we put in. So let's say we'll put 250 for that's assigned to this is going to be passed through here. Then again, a little asterisk, and then we're going to enter your insurance cost for the month. And again, it's going to repeat. All these functions kind of have the same block style where it's going to compare. Well, first it's going to ask you for the budget, and then it's going to ask you how much you spent, which you already typed it in. And then it's going to put a little line that says budget, and then a little line spent, and then it's going to show you what you actually put in, and then it'll give you an output saying whether you went over budget, and it's going to be sent to the output file, which we're going to see later on, or it's going to tell you that you saved X amount of money. But if it was neutral. If you didn't went over budget and it was exact same how your budget was, it would just say you saved like zero amount of money. So here it'll ask you to put the utilities, electricity, water, gas, and it'll pass the argument of those variables. And same with repair costs, total maintenance, total renovation costs, meal costs, and here's a list over budget. And in here, we're gonna get the budget and basically add it for each month over time. So then we will get a final budget at the end. The total budget for the session will equal the budget, which we'll get from here. All right. Press enter to exit file. To exit. And then to return. And we're gonna have our first function. So for the first function, I initially was gonna assign January equals 1, February equals 2, but I found an issue where I could not display the proper months I wanted to do. And I remember in our textbook about using switches. And I remember using switches previously on one of our labs. And at first I didn't know if we could use it in the function, but looking back at my notes, I found out that we can. So I thought it was appropriate to use the switch inside the function. And since M is equal to the first month and it will keep on iterating until last month, it will keep on going until it reaches 12 or the latest or the last month you entered. So knowing that, I created the switch program where the switch gets the M variable. And let's say you put in 2, it will spit out this and then break because we don't want it to continue going because each iteration is going to have one specific month, and we didn't put the break, it will spew out from, like, let's say we put in 3 and it'll spew from 3 all the way down to 12. But again, if you didn't put any of these numbers in, it will say invalid input. Another way to double check if our input was completely valid. So yeah, I'll spit out January, February, and then the /n to give it a little space. And then we're gonna have our second function, the end payment. And as you see here, we put a little asterisk again to keep it clean. It's gonna ask how much was your budget for mortgage or rent for this month, and the user will implement the budget. And then the budget is blank this, and then if the payment you entered here is greater than budget, it will spit out your mortgage /rent over budget. And then we're gonna have our third function here, kind of the same thing. Asterisk, how much your budget for insurance, call insurance, and then if your budget went over budget, void utility, which is gonna be our utilities, electricity, water, gas, internet. Enter the budget for utilities, and then we're gonna have all of these here, and then which is gonna give us like a little sign, water, this, and gas budget. Make it look nice and clean. And then count electricity, which is gonna basically divide it between those 4 expenses so we could see it nice and clearly. So count electricity, the budget, which we are going to put the budget for electricity, and then it's also going to spit out the little line and spent, and then electricity. So it'll give the user to see how much the budget was and how much was actually spent. And then again, we're going to compare the two. If electricity was more than the budget, will spit out electricity went over budget. And instead of, not putting it anywhere, I found out that using the output file will allow us to put it in like a text file and then be able to spit it out in a format of a list so the user could see all the total expenses that went over budget. And we use that by using this line right here, output file, electricity, with this here. So then when it spits it out, it doesn't just spit out the number, it spits out the string that tells you the electricity and then the amount of money that was spent. And then else, we're going to get the save variable that I declared up here. Saved equals electricity budget minus electricity, and it'll spit out you saved money symbol in electricity. So it will also put out the user that we saved X amount of money, giving the user like a prompt, letting them know that they save money in the area. That's kind of repetitive, but yeah. And now next we got the water one, which is going to be repeating the same format as the electricity one, same as the other ones, all the way up into the internet. And then for our maintenance, it's going to be kind of the same thing. I kind of follow the same format where we get the budget, and then the budget is X budget spent is main cost. If main cost is greater than X budget, then maintenance cost went over budget, maintenance this, and put that string into our output file. And we are also going to kind of follow the same routine into the renovation costs, with the same format and renovations you saved. Again, like most of these functions are going to be kind of repetitive because they are asking the same thing in different ways. But it just, it is nice to be able to look at your old code and not completely repeat it, but repeat it so you're able to move on to the code faster. And this is where we have our groceries offstream, tell us to implement our groceries, implement our budget, and then for restaurant, implement a restaurant budget, and then show a prompt that you saved in X amount in groceries and then in restaurants. And it'll even say right here, you save blank in groceries, you save blank from not going out to restaurants. And then here at the end, for our last function, it is going to be string line input open over budget.txn, the txt, my fault, and then another asterisk. Here's the following expresses that went over budget. And for the one all the way, no, I'm tripping. But I had to put this because for some reason when I put input file and line, I didn't want to go through. And I look back in our notes saying that sometimes if that doesn't completely work, we have to use std get line just to see if that works compared to the alternative. And luckily, because I did run into issues where it didn't want to push through my list and implementing this to get it out, and I make sure to close it inside of this function. And I ran through one iteration down here. Again, I just tested it real quick. And here you will see where get rent, mortgage costs, how much was your budget for insurance, electricity, enter your budget for utilities, and it'll tell us, how much you saved, how much you went over cost, maintenance, February. This happened because I closed the program on accident, and for some reason it started glitching out. But when I did run it initially, it did run perfectly. Yeah, because whenever I brought it up down here and I brought it up back here, it started adding a bunch of stuff that, like you can see here, that I don't know why. And it's repeating maintenance, which again, code won't do that. But up here it ran up nice and perfectly, but it's just something happened. I don't know why I did that. I notice it happens a lot with Visual Code. When I go up and down or I close the terminal and I open it back up. I think it's because I don't stop the program, which I should have. Sorry about that. But yeah, this is the code for my midterm, and hopefully it is good. It is over 300 lines of code. So hopefully I got everything well prepared, spoke properly, and thank you for your time.